Hi everyone. Markets grinded higher today, so let's take a look at the data as well as the charts. Do me a quick favor and like and subscribe and watch the video till the end to help out the channel, and let's get started. So Fear and Greed Index stepped up to a 46. You can see previous was a 41. A week ago we were at a 40, so we're seeing a nice little step higher, slightly above these previous highs, back into that neutral territory. Still extreme greed on momentum, still fear on strength and breadth. So markets are still mixed, but I do like the price action a little bit better here today. Safe haven demand stepped back to neutral, and then no change here for junk bond demand. So saw a slight jump in interest rates. Saw interest rates sell off with the GDP numbers we saw today. Moving over to seasonality, you can see this is a typically bullish period, and we are getting that bullish move into the 27th and now into the 28th, also supposed to be bullish. And it's worth mentioning that the beginning of July is also a bullish period, so seasonality continuing to be a factor here in June. Moving over to the Thursday economic calendar, you can see core durable goods and core prices as well as the GDP number. So core durable goods came in at minus 0.1. 0.2 was the expectation, so not great there. Also a significant step down. But the durable goods orders were actually better than expected. Minus 0.5 was the expectation, and then we got a 0.1, so that was good. The previous number was revised down from a 0.7, so that wasn't super great. So not terrible. And then GDP numbers actually came in a little better than expected at 1.4. Surprisingly, markets were fine with this. The good GDP data for me, I would have expected interest rates to potentially jump on that, as we might not see a cut based on those numbers, but overall not bad and better than expected. And then Atlanta Fed numbers 2.7 versus 3, again slightly weaker but not bad. Then pending home sales, this was an interesting one here, minus 2.1%. Expectation was 0.6, still better than the previous number at minus 7.7, but you can definitely see that the housing market is starting to soften with all of this data that we've been seeing here recently. And then looking at tomorrow here, you can see core PCE as well as headline PCE coming in at 8:30. We have the forecast here now, 0.1 for the month over month and 2.6 for the core year over year. And then the headline actually the same there at 2.6, and then month over month supposed to be flat. That would be a great number. So PCE finally getting close to that 2% range. Everything we want to see there. Michigan data, 1 year expectation 3.3, 5 year 3.1. Would like to see those come in a little bit lighter as well. Any lighter inflation data should lead to bullish markets. So something to watch here for tomorrow. Could be a little bit volatile. Moving over to Max Payne, you can see it's still here at 542. Stock price is 546.46. Total options 2.27 million. Put call ratio still very high at 4.4 for the S&Ps. Put wall at 540. Call wall is at 548. Top of the puts 546 to 549. So you could see maybe a 0.5% higher. I wouldn't expect anything more than that. And then about 1.5% potential risk to the downside, but I think we're probably going to swing into that 4.7 to 4.8 area. I think we're probably going to see a bullish move tomorrow. Moving over to the charts, we got the S&Ps with another very slightly bullish day. 0.16 to the upside. Momentum still bearish. RSI still below the SMA, but still grinding higher. So mixed. Indicators say bearish. Price action says bullish, and you can see it here on the hourly chart. Test the level, pulled back. Test the EMAs. Test the level again after hours. Gonna have to extend out that trend line for tomorrow's video, but everything still looks bullish as we grind along that upper resistance. You can see we're still holding it on the daily chart. Didn't even test the 544 level, so that's bullish as well. But of course, PCE is going to drive price, and we'll see how that plays tomorrow. But right now it looks a little bit bullish. Moving over to the Tasty charts, you can see that same thesis, grinding along that 8 EMA, holding that level, pushed up to that second ATR, which was at 547.02. Upper ATR band still sitting at 551.49. Could get to that level tomorrow. At this point, I would expect it as long as those inflation numbers come in pretty light. And then looking at that 4-hour chart, still mixed here with the bearish ATRs. That resistance is at 548.61, but we did pop a little bit higher. Got a little bit higher than the previous couple days, and then that upper ATR band 549.91. So some levels to play with between there, within about $1 of each other. Momentum still bullish, but look at this volume profile continuing to trend lower as markets trend higher, which is interesting. To me, that would say we're potentially going to see not so much follow through. So maybe we get a pop on the inflation numbers, and then we see a bit of a roll off from that level. Moving over to the NASDAQ charts here, you can see we got the hourly continuing to grind higher. We did close up 0.26 on the day. Momentum bearish, RSI bearish, just like the SPY, but we came off that trend line, got back above the 9 EMA, so that was good. Upper trend resistance would be here around 488, which would be above these previous levels. So we'll see how that plays. Momentum slightly bullish, RSI slightly bullish on the hourly chart, and you can see we're grinding a little bit higher after hours. We're at 482. Again, could see about a 0.5 to 1% move if that inflation data comes in light, in my opinion. We'll see how that plays out in tomorrow's price action, but I do think it could be slightly bullish, just like I said before. And that after hours price action supports it. And then looking at the volume profile, you really haven't had a ton of volume, which is interesting. So potentially that volume will come in with the inflation data tomorrow. Moving over to the Tasty charts, you can see we are finding resistance at that ATR trailing stop at 481.83. Tested it multiple times, continued to close below it. We have not broken it here on the 4-hour chart. If we close in this after hours candle, which is happening right now, we could get above that ATR. Right now we're at 482.20, so if that candle closes above that level, we'll be back into bullish conditions, looking for a push to that upper ATR, which would be 486. Certainly possible. You can see the ATRs are starting to tighten a little bit and flatten out, so could see a swing from there. Momentum bullish, volume actually ramped a little bit here on the NASDAQ, so a little bit different than what we saw on the SPY, but this looks more bullish here today than it did yesterday. Moving over to the Russell and the Dow, you can see the Russell had a great day, 1.01%. We expected it to be bullish. We got above the level, 201.88, closed above it, rallying after hours, momentum swinging to bullish. Everything says that the Russell is going to go higher. Honestly, I probably should have taken a bigger position on this here today. I expected it to be bullish, and it did exactly what I thought it was going to do. Back above all the EMAs and SMAs, probably going to take a bigger position on this tomorrow if it continues to play well. And then looking at the Dow, slightly positive, 0.08, continuing to find resistance around that 392.44 level. High of day was 392.39, so just short of it by a couple pennies, and then sold off from there, and it's down a little bit after hours. So Russell looking actually the most bullish out of the group, in my opinion. Moving over to stocks that moved today, we got Super Micro having another bullish day. It has given quite a bit back over the last couple trading days, but 7.12%, got back above 856.79 was the level, starting to push back towards the trend line up around $1,000. Touched 1,000 on this most recent wick, probably can get there again, in my opinion. It's a strong candle, decent volume, momentum back to bullish, Super Micro looking good. And then Walgreens here to the downside, 22% down after they reduced their earnings guidance for the year, saying that the consumer is not doing well in their stores. So big dump there, huge volume, and you can see that here, 132 million shares traded today, massive gap lower. This stock was in the 96 area just a couple years ago, and now we are down to $12. Moving over to Apple and Microsoft, Apple was up 0.4, continuing to hit this trend resistance and then selling off just a little bit after we gapped to it. And then looking at Microsoft, a wick higher, 0.15 to the upside, still can't quite get to that trend line, up around 459. We'll see if we can get there tomorrow on some potential inflation data. Super overbought, momentum fading, but price action continues to grind higher, as do markets. Moving over to Tesla and NVDA here. Tesla was up 0.53. Want to see this get above that 197.75 level. It is holding above the 144 EMA, which is at 193.84. Want to see it push to the 200 there at 206.58. Momentum bullish, RSI bullish. I still like this trade here. Watching that level closely, and then looking at NVIDIA, gap down, and Doji minus 1.91%. It's below the level at 125, but above the 21. Momentum and RSI are both bearish there, so watching this one as well. If this starts to sell off a little bit more, that could start to take markets with it. Obviously, this was the biggest stock in the world for a brief moment, and now it's starting to sell off from those record highs. Moving over to Meta and Amazon. Meta hit the price target at 520.31, expected that, 1.26% to the upside. We also have Amazon hitting the price target here at 196.76, so that was good. Overthrew it quite a bit, threw a big wick up to 199.84, put out a short about them hitting $2 trillion in market cap for the first time. Big push. This is record highs here for Amazon. It's above all these previous levels. The next trend would be all the way up at 209 or so. I don't think we're going to get there anytime soon, but this could absolutely grind a little bit higher over the short term. Momentum and RSI are both bullish, and it clearly has some strong movement here, as well as volume. Look at that volume coming in, supporting Amazon in this most recent run. Moving over to staples and discretionaries. Staples sold off 0.43. Discretionaries continuing to rally 0.61. Headed towards that 185.36 level. I still like discretionaries to push to that level and touch. You can see we're starting to get into these previous highs. We came up just short of that level on this previous push, so maybe we come up a little bit short here, get into that 185 area. Momentum bullish, RSI bullish, and you can see this is definitely risk on. We got discretionaries rallying and staples starting to sell off. If this 55 EMA breaks there at 76.47, then we're probably pushing back to that 75 area for staples. Moving over to oil and gold. Oil did have a positive day, 1% higher, gapped and then started to rally here on the Friday candle. This looks good in my opinion. I think we're probably headed to that 86 area. Could find some resistance here around 83.70, but we'll see how that plays. Momentum fading, RSI bullish. I still like oil to go a little bit higher. And then looking at gold, interesting here. Yesterday it was down 0.92 and then today 1.13 to the upside. Still holding this level at 214.65. That continues to look good. Want to see it get above the 55 EMA, which is at 216.70 on GLD. If it can do that, we're probably headed back up to the 225 area. This has been consolidating for a while. We got here on 5 April and we are still here on 27 June. I still like gold to potentially push to that 25 area one more time, but we need to see some of these EMAs break to the upside. Moving over to RIOT and Marathon. RIOT basically no change. It was positive 1% after gapping up, but then gave a lot of that back. Momentum still bearish, RSI still bearish, still in this consolidation. Really not much to say there. And then looking at Marathon, I like, so this is basically a pullback in time. We just hung out in this area long enough to where we are now above this downtrend line. So that looks better. It was positive 1.5%. I think this is probably going to pop here in the next couple days and push to that next trend line up around 24. You can see it's grinding a little bit higher after hours. We haven't seen any volume, but the momentum rolling to bullish. RSI here back above the SMA. Marathon starting to look better. Obviously, crypto prices need to play alongside of this, but Marathon, I think there's an upswing in here pretty soon. Moving over to Breadth, we had 2 down days on Tuesday and Wednesday, and now for Thursday, we got a wick low and a little bit of a bounce, so that was reaffirming. That's what we were looking for on the 20-day. We talked about it yesterday. That candle was not super convincing. Expected a bounce. We've seen it before. Candle like that here on 14 June, got a bounce right after. I would expect this to continue higher tomorrow. And then looking at 50-day Breadth, not as convincing. We did wick a new low. The low was 43.53. Didn't touch the level at 40. Still hanging out in these EMAs. Didn't engulf the previous candle. So really no change on the thesis. This could continue to drop lower tomorrow, but I would be surprised if they went in different directions. I still like this 20-day Breadth to go a little bit higher. Moving over to the dollar did have a slight pullback, which was interesting. Down 0.12, nothing crazy. You can see a wick here. Actually broke the 50, broke the 55, got back above all the EMAs and SMAs, so looks like just a bit of a pullback. I would expect this to continue to rally tomorrow. Low inflation data would give us a rally in the dollar, meaning that, but that does not fit with the lower inflation data thesis. Higher inflation could give the dollar a little bit more strength because we would not see those cuts, and higher interest rates give the dollar strength. So we'll see how that plays. This is saying that the dollar should go higher, which means inflation data might not come in as favorable, but we'll see how it plays out. This is still grinding higher, and it does look good going into tomorrow's trading as a bullish thesis up to that 106.8 area. Moving over to yields for the Thursday session. 2-year gave it all back, still in this consolidation, waiting for that inflation data. Obviously, that's going to determine where we go. 10-year hit that 21 EMA yesterday. Didn't give it all back, so we're still holding a higher low. Momentum slightly bullish, RSI slightly bullish. Again, PCE data is going to determine price action for tomorrow. If it comes in light, we'll probably see this sell off. If it comes in a little bit hot, we could see this go a little bit higher. Moving over to bonds, J&K rallied, giving a little bit back after hours, still in this consolidation. Still looks like this is going to push back to that 94.82 area. And then TLT, slight gap higher. Doji, 0.4 to the upside, momentum bearish, RSI still bearish. I think this might still push down to this lower band of this trend. 92.82 is certainly a zone where we could find some support. Of course, bonds will rally on that softer inflation data, inverse of what we'll see on yields, but this does not look super great. I think we're going to move to this lower range, find some support, and then push back up into that 96 area on the next up move. Moving over to volatility on both of these continues to fall. Move index had been grinding higher, gave all that back here today. And then we got the VIX fading, RSI fading, probably headed down to that 12 area. Got below this short-term support. 1177 is the next zone. See what happens once we get there. If we touch that area, maybe we see a jump from there. But but the VIX not telling us a ton right now. Moving over to my accounts, I did fine on the day. You can see I made just short of $400, which is good. IWM rolled out to the Monday session for 202. This continues to be super aggressive, and I do like it. Like I said, I should have been more aggressive here. Should have sold a put, at least for the mid session. We'll see how the PCE data comes in, but I like this, and I do want to get more bullish on the Russell for that next leg higher, which I do think is coming. And then we got the Qs, still playing the strangle, still playing the covered calls. I rolled my call out here to 477 for the Monday session, so trying to buy a little bit of space there for $5.72. So max profit on that position is going to be 482.72. So it gives me just a little bit of room for upside. If the PCE comes in super light, I'll roll this out again to try to buy some more room. But right now I do have some potential for that Monday session, and then you can see my strangle. This is already in mostly a profit. Probably should have taken it off and then reestablished after the PCE data, but we'll see how it plays out. Still about $40 potential profit there, and then another $80 potential on the call side. So see how it plays out. Still slightly bullish, but a little bit less bullish going into tomorrow than I was into today. Let me know down in the comments section what you think of the price action and what is your prediction for the PCE data and how will it affect markets? Are we going to see another huge jump higher, or will the data come in hot and markets are going to sell off? Definitely like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video, and make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. Good luck in your trading and have a great day.